Hello and welcome to everyone. Today we have a very special guest. Well, for me, I'm pretty much impressed with your channel. One of the best MMA bettors and one of the greatest MMA handicappers alongside capper comparison picks. Go for it. Please tell everything about yourself. Give us a brief introduction. We are ready to roll.
Thank you, my man. Yeah, I don't know if I'm the best, but I'm trying to be the best for a long time ago, so I'll keep trying if I'm still not. I call myself SrodrMMABet, but yeah, I'm out there, with like betting from 9 years ago, like I'm saying, kind of a hobby of mine. It started trying to make some extra money. Obviously, I'm very interested into MMA. It's like I think you said it yourself, right, Vlad? It's like the best sport in the world. I agree with that. To me, it's lots of fun to watch. And then I started, getting experience and I started to see patterns, trying to, put the bets at first to have like an emotional touch to it, like cheer for one guy or one girl specifically. But then you start seeing patterns, start to see that you can try to make some money. I started making my predictions, putting some, my money into the line, see how this goes, and then started, having a good time and putting some bets there.
When did you discover passion for MMA? How did everything start?
Yeah, I started watching UFC, it was actually, when I first started watching was like Pride, but I was not watching live, but kind of heard, this guy, I don't know, maybe Tito Ortiz, Vilto Belfort, this kind of people started coming to the media. Like, you see these guys on the television, like banging and putting guys out, and then I got interested to see these fights. And then I wanted to start some tapes with Pride, and then the UFC was just starting. And yeah, and then also martial arts a little bit in thinking every culture, right? In Brazil as well, Brazil is very well known by Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. But yeah, Muay Thai is in the corner everywhere. So kind of, got interested. I did karate for a couple of years too. So yeah, that mix of martial arts there. And especially the fact that I think it's a little bit somehow easier to predict, at least by watching tape, watching fighters, because it depends only one person, So when I started first trying to bet was based on that, I was thinking that for me it's easier to try to predict what one person gonna do rather than a team or something. So I was a mix there, interested on the fights itself, and then start seeing people making propaganda of bets and etc. So I wanted to see if I could make some money there.
Can you explain how do you make a handicap or a parlay or a prediction? Do you have some special tactics, or you just think about the fight, you focus on the fight strictly? For example, I never look at odds. I only look at technical aspect of the game, as well as you have noticed. But maybe you have a different way to view the bet. So go for it, please.
The way I do it, I kind of developed my own style. I was evolving throughout the years. I think I acquired enough experience to say that I can do the handicaps myself, kind of watching the fights and see how one guy or one girl match up with the other. I do like tape studying, and it's a mix of things, to be honest. Like, the skill set, like you're saying, the technique is one, the heart and the will to win the fights, the size of the person, the strengths, how they adapt in the fight. And especially the way they match up against each other, I think it always depends on the fighter, but there's this old say that, the wrestlers are the one that you have to bet, this type of things, This used to be true. It's no longer true anymore, but it's just to give a touch there, It depends a lot how the fighters match up, I also like to take a look on the metrics, right, when they are available. In the UFC, you have the fight metric, and you can definitely take a look there to see, how much, this fighter, how much punches he lands per minute, what is his takedown defense like, how much he attacks submission. So these things help. So it's kind of, add there to the mix of everything, saying, again, how do they match up, and the factors, the X factors, like like I was saying, power, strengths, and also the training camp. That also, because you can see evolution from some fighters, like young fighters or fighters that go through good camps. You can know the evolution. You can know the game plan quality. So all of this puts in a mix, and at the end of the day, it's kind of you making assumptions. You know what I'm saying? Because it's not easy to predict. And what I like to do is like. To go for the worst case scenario, put all this into the mix and think whether if I'm making something, you know, some assumption that may not be right, would I still be willing to throw my money out there, you know, to see if, you know, if it's worth the bet. So I'm not sure it was like very concise and very, you know, clear answer, but it's kind of a mix of things I can say, just to reiterate that the style plus the factors, like X factors there.
Got to ask you, which is the riskiest parlay you've ever made in your life that brought you money?
Man, I think this lately I'm increasing the amount of I'm betting. You know, I don't know if you follow my channel all the time, but
I do.
For people that follow, yeah, cool. So I like to make a mix. I try to reduce my risk by diversifying. I believe my predictions. You know, I think that in the long run I'm getting this right, like from 60 to 70% accuracy on the bets. I think this is pretty good. You know, especially when it comes to underdogs into the mix. So in the long run, I know that I'm getting this right, you know, so I like to diversify. I don't like to put all the eggs into the same basket, you know, and lose. So I like to diversify a lot. And more to your question, you know, I think let's put it like in a future one to make this more interesting. I'm putting lots of money, you know, at least in proportion to what I'm willing to bet. In Megan Anderson, I'm putting like over 10% of all my betting money. You know, I separate like amount that I consider that I'm willing to lose in a bet, and then I mix within this amount. So I'm taking like over 10% of my money, and I'm throwing on Megan Anderson on parlays, on straight bets. So I'm parlaying, you know, Megan Anderson from the time that the odds were released, like plus 700. So I have parlaying her with everybody, you know, that I'm betting, like some that I lost. The last card I lost of Rudolph Vieira, I lost Macy Barber, I had parlays with them and Megan Anderson, but then I had a parlay with Polyana Viana. I parlayed Polyana Viana at, you know, finishing inside this distance, which was plus 400 with Megan Anderson, that is now plus 700. So for this cashes, I have like, what comes like 36, right? So plus 3,500 in a parlay going through, you know. So this type of things, you know, it sounds like interesting. But at the end of the day, like I said, I like to mix it up and, let's see how this goes. One other good bet that I parlayed quite a bit was Shayna Dobson when she fought Maria Gapova. I was thinking that was nearly a pick and fight, so I based my predictions into that, right? So I'm kind of giving the rating, like let's say nearly a pick and fight, so nearly 50-50 or 40% to 60% on the saying that this is 40% chance to cash. Man, I'm talking about here like plus 600, plus 700 in like something that it's my belief, right? But again, I'm putting my experience into that. I'm saying like 40% chance, and my potential return like plus 500, plus 600. That's like massive potential, right? So that's added to this entire mix that I do. I throw more money there, and that's when I hope to cash.
How do you determine the amount of betting money? You mentioned betting money on a few occasions. So how do you determine how much money is betting money?
I was evolving that throughout the time. When I first started, I was taking, I don't know, 3% of my entire assets. I don't know. I have $10,000, so I'm betting $300 in this scenario, right? As soon as I was gaining confidence, I'm increasing this amount. So nowadays, I'm like 10% of my entire, you know, assets. So that's my betting money. So 10% of my entire, you know, money is 10% is for bets, let's put it this way, and I'm always increasing. So from this turned out to be the 100%. And then I define the amount that I'm gonna bet on a fight, depending on how confident I am and the spread, right? So in my head is like this. I try to predict a percentage-wise that this girl or this guy gonna win. As soon as I see a spread, and let's say like it's 50-50, so I would expecting like plus 100. Then I'll go out there and the odds are like plus 200. So this gives me a good spread. So in this case, I would say like, you know, 4% of my money. So again, it will depend a lot on the analysis on each fight. But that's basically what I do. And then I put everything in the mix. And the more confident I am, or the bigger the spread, the more money I lay. That helps somehow, you know. So let's put an example like Polyana Viana. I had like her like 70% on that fight, you know, and she was like plus 150. So that came to me like 7% of my money. I'm betting money that I put in there. So not that much, but it's a good amount in the proportions that I bet. Because in general, I go like 1-2% of my betting money, depending on the fight itself.
When you bet, do you bet always as a patriotic for a Brazilian guy, or you're thinking about the fight? Because, for example,
man,
yeah.
I can say that I always cheer for the Brazilians, but yeah, I bet based on my rationale. I take off the flags and all the political thing, you know. And one interesting thing that I do this in English. I don't do much in Portuguese because in Brazil it's kind of weird because it's like you are allowed to bet as long as the betting website is not posted in Brazil. And there's like people have lots of prejudice on that, right? So that's why I kind of, you know, stray myself from that. I go more like to the international market where people understand that this is like your choice, you know, it's your money. And if you're aware of your risks and you know what you're doing, I think there's no problem to do it. But there's lots of prejudice behind, and that's why I don't do much things in Portuguese. But yeah, to your question, man, I don't know. I don't have much, you know. I go more like I take these flags things. One thing that I use it to consider when I'm betting when the events, you know, were with the audience and whatnot. You know that the judges can always be swayed by the crowd, right? So, for example, if you're going to fight Jose Aldo in Rio de Janeiro, man, you better finish the guy, otherwise you may very likely lose a decision. You know? If the guy lands a jab, the crowd goes rah, right? So this sways the judges, you know, and it happened a lot before that the decisions go wrong way because of that, you know. So one more factor to add there into the mix, right? So that's some things to consider, right? Also when you're going to the American markets, right? There are some local guys that the crowd cheer for that also can influence, you know. So plus the psychological part of the fight, right? You know, at the end, I think the fighters, they are really, you know, to the next level toughness and you know, mental toughness. But either way, you know, you're going out on another country, everybody, you know, cheering against you, you know, trying to throw hate on you. That also can affect the psychology of the fighter, right? So there's also some things that I consider in the mix there.
You said that situation in Brazil about betting is like, so it's, do people approve it or they are like conservative towards that? What did you want to say? I didn't understand that part. Sorry, I had slight internet issues. Can you please repeat that?
Yeah, I was saying that I think it's not, people have prejudice about that. You know, if you say that that you're betting, people kind of look you weird eye, thinking, this person's going to lose the entire money, you know, it's like a gambling addict or something. Yeah, it's kind of, you know, these images that on the bad part, because used to be illegal, now it's like to the gray area, like I said. When you're betting in Brazil, you're actually not betting in Brazil, you bet on a website, it's posted outside of Brazil, so that's why you're allowed to do it. And this is the first part, and but now it's changing, you know. I think Brazil is becoming more open to that. They can see that how much money this actually moves, and they are interested to collecting taxes into that. So this is changing a bit, but I think still it's like the old school thought that the people think that, like I said, no, betting people are the one who, you know, buy the results, you know, like, you know, people that don't know what they're doing, this type of things, you know.
Well, according to your thoughts, I think in my state we like to say that you are going ahead of your time, you know, because you said now it's allowed in Brazil and you were doing it prior, before it was allowed. So that's what I would like to say. For example, in my state, I mean, you can bet wherever you want. I mean, nobody's going to tell you anything, but people are like pretty much narrow-minded when it comes to MMA. For example, I'm the one and only MMA journalist. I mean, I don't live in Bulgaria, I live in Serbia. But in Serbia, people think if you're not, they have few of them. If you're not one of them, you can't do it. But right now, when they saw my names, they kind of started changing and so. But, you know, people are here very much narrow-minded, and especially about betting. I mean, I don't bet, but I like predictions. I like predictions more than anything in the world. I like commentaries and such things. So you want to say that in Brazil, is it hard to go ahead of time, or it's like...
It's always been the gray area, you know, like there's because again, you're not effective betting in Brazil, but in the open television, you also see propagandas of betting websites. So like I was saying, you know, people are now kind of start accepting, especially government, you know, because again, it moves quite a lot of money. and they're interested in collecting taxes. So this is changing, nobody gonna, say that you're doing something illegal or what, or something to this nature. But like I said, people are narrow-minded, and there is this old school thought that I was describing, that people think that gamblers are dirty people, this kind of things, And you mentioned a good point, because in Brazil, actually, the MMA part, even though the sport is, quite spread out, people know about it, but soccer is definitely the main thing here. I'm not too much into soccer. I used to when you're raised in Brazil, obviously you know about soccer. When I was a kid, I knew much more, but then I lost interest. So yeah, the part that actually moves money in betting in Brazil is hands down soccer. There's propaganda everywhere for you to bet on soccer teams, on results, this type of things.
And I think you mentioned it on my last event, that you mentioned commentary. For example, here in Serbia, commentators are terrible. They, for example, don't know the difference. I'm going to tell you one thing. There was the triangle to armbar, submission switch, triangle to armbar, Like, going for a triangle, goes for the armbar, and the commentator says it's omoplata. And when he said omoplata, I just muted. I can't listen to them. I don't know how is it in Brazil, but here, believe me, there are few guys who know. Croatian commentators are good, but Serbian commentators are, like, terrible. The most terrible commentators on planet. How is the situation in Brazil?
In Brazil, it's like, because they have the channel that broadcasts UFC, it's like the one has nearly a monopoly of the broadcast television, so that they're the biggest. And they put people that maybe knew a little bit about soccer, and then they throw these people out to comment on MMA. Yeah, something like this, like a guy that was famous because he was commenting something, and then they throw him on the fight game. And then they put this person, and the person starts saying things that don't make much sense. They try to add like a guy that used it to fight to do more. I think Minotauro Nogueira was doing part of the comments, but he doesn't do the live comments, So it's kind of the one that people that comment there, sometimes they get it right, but the main one that starts, like you're saying, calling some things that don't make sense, And at the end, I also, I kind of muted them after they said that, the guy was like a striker. So, this guy has a good guillotine or something. Just because people are used to these things, right? They want to hear that the person knows Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, so they comment that, something to this nature. So yeah, it's pretty. And man, that's the way it is. Like they took them. Probably the UFC had a giant contract with this main broadcast television, and they are doing what people want to hear, right? I don't blame them, but. To those that have a more clinical eye, that want to hear more like quality things, kind of doesn't make much sense.
Well, for example, I'm kind of, how to say, my boss that supports my YouTube channel, he's from Bulgaria, but we do it in English or so, but he respects my knowledge. For example, I'm pretty much lucky that he respects my knowledge. He listened once or twice, and I asked him, is it okay? He said, listen, you know better than 99% of Bulgarian commentators, so I don't even think of controlling you anymore. That's what he said. I mean, but for example, you can't be the expert in all martial arts. And for example, I could call myself a fearsome striker, but I'm not good grappler. So, I had to learn a lot. For example, I like to open some good grappling tournament. I like to learn new things, but you must work on yourself. So what do you think about that? Constant work or?
100%, man. I also have some experience in martial arts, especially with the striking part. Like I said, I did karate a little bit. Then I did a little bit boxing, Muay Thai. And the BJJ, I did like, 1 month, 2 months classes. So I don't basically know much about it. And you have to do the tape studying on these parts too. I use it to, now I got some experience and I'm more confident to see the techniques and what things people use, But even nowadays, like I said, I pull up grappling tournaments, things that I don't know much about, like these tutorials that sometimes you see out there. You do some yourself, right, on the striking part. But I've even forgot because it's been a couple of years already, but people that kind of teach online how you could grapple, how you could defend, guillotine, how you could like get an underhook on the ground to hit your switch, to sweep the guy, how you can combine the arm bars with triangles, how you can go through the chokes, chain on chain techniques. The wrestling part too, the wrestling when you when you look like with a beginner's eyes, it looks simple, you know, like, but there's so much details to it, you know, like the way you enter, the where you put your head, you know, the way you, even the way you land the takedown, you know, some guys end up taking the other down, but just can't hold because the way they land, they always land in the guard or the, you know, they don't land it effective, you know. So all of these things, you know, there's so much details and there's so much different levels to the game, and definitely, you know, maybe the best way would be to learn yourself and then to, you know, to have a feeling, you know, how the fighter would feel in the cage, you know, for you to be more accurate with our predictions. But in my case, I'm taking advantage of the technology, right? Watching lots of these tutorials, you know, then I see the, you know, more specific tournaments, you know, more specific disciplines, and also to see how the guy combines that into the fight, you know. So yeah, I think you got a good point, you know. I think that's so the way to learn, right? If you didn't practice, you need to watch the tape. Otherwise, really, you're gonna get messed up, you know, because things happen so fast. So in the middle of the fight, it's really difficult to see what things are going if you don't have the clinical eye, the trained eye. Yeah.
Yeah, when I start doing technical, you know, technical explanations, I had many cases when people ask me, how do you know such things? And I said, listen, I was fighting, I'm still training, so I know. And people say, but how do you know, for example, that he should move his leg backward? How do you know he should do a step drag? I mean, come on, it's easy. To evade a low kick, do a double step drag. I mean, it's not rocket science, but normal people are having a hard time understanding such things.
Yeah, man, and the experience, right? If you like you said, you know, you're fighting before, probably got hit a couple of times if you didn't pull your jab back or your right hand, right? So you learn by, you know, getting hit.
Do you see this?
Yeah, and it's not from your glasses, right?
It's from this, and I don't know whether you see this. I broke this one. I don't know whether you see it didn't heal normally.
Yeah, it's quite tough to see, but yeah.
Okay, but look at the other one. Wait. Do you see the other one?
You see that it's tilted a little bit, right?
Yeah, I broke this one. In the tournament, I broke this one and my nose was broken. So, yes, I know perfectly well how it looks like to get hit.
And what did you do, like Muay Thai or what was it?
I was competing in Taekwondo for like 8 years. I was vice champ of my state, and I also trained kickboxing. I still train it, but in kickboxing, I only had 2 amateur fights. I won one via spinning heel kick KO. I lost one via decision, but unfortunately, due to my liver issues, I had to hang up the gloves. You know, it was a very, very hard liver issue. I ended up in the hospital. I literally died 8 years ago, and since then I don't compete. But yeah, I had some hard issues, but I would continue my career if my health was good. But then I transitioned, you know. Everybody has to find his own way. But how was your training of martial arts? I mean, you trained many martial arts from what I've heard, right?
Yeah, not many, you know. Like I did karate when I was a kid, you know. Influence of the parents, you know, trying to somehow learn something to self-defense. Doesn't quite apply much, but still, I was there, you know, for some years. Then more interested to, you know, learn more the fight itself, you know. Then boxing looked pretty cool to me. Then I did like, it was not much, it was like a couple of years only, you know, and I never had like an amateur bout or something, just sparring with the guys. So yeah, no, it's a tough thing to do, you know, like I respect a lot all fighters, you know, because man, if you put your body on the line and, you know, the human body is very fragile and the guys are willing, you know, to go there to bang and, you know, get knocked out, break things. So to me, it's kind of crazy, you know. Obviously I have fun, but you know, a lot of respect for fighters. But yeah, more to your questions, like yeah, I was doing boxing, you know, and then a little bit of Muay Thai too, also, like it was nearly a year, so it was also pretty amateur. And you can see what it takes, you know, for you to go out there, you know, and start fighting, you know, the adrenaline, you know, fighting another guy that when you watch from the television looks, the guys are doing something easy, but man, it's really difficult, you know. Start getting hit, like you said, you know, like start hurting your hands, start getting hit in the nose, you know, bleeding. And I remember when I did an amateur, you know, like sparring session in the boxing, you know, I think it was one of my last, because I was happier to fight with the punching bag than with the guy, you know, because I started getting hit. It was not even getting hit so much, you know, like blocking the shots and everything, but the guy was a little bit bigger than I, more heavy-handed. And at the end, you know, the fight, you know, the eyes blacking out, you know, you start to, you know, this type of things. I said, man, come on, these guys that take these shots, you know, like clean shots. It's really something unbelievable, you know. And but yeah, my background, let's say, I was more like a striking, you know, but and the rest I kind of trying to learn to see what the guys do during the fights in taping, like we were discussing before.
The point is, I trained BJJ for 2 years. Unfortunately, I don't have time now. Plus, because of COVID, everything is, you know how.
Yeah.
But I said to my instructor, listen, I will train, but I don't want to go for belts. And he said, are you insane? I said, no. I just want to learn. He said, fine, whatever you do. But my point was to learn it so I can later transition my knowledge, you know. And for example, when somebody goes for a submission switch, I know to elaborate the position, but I know it because I felt that. And I know, for example, that switching from triangle armbar to armbar is very hard, but people are thinking, for example, such things are very much easy, you know. And for example, when in my last interview, I asked Leonardo Damiani, this is Italian MMA prospect, I asked him, what is your submission switch and favorite submission switch? And he said it's rear naked choke to Kimura. And I was like, wait, you want to change the position? To go for a submission switch, it's like I asked him. This is like 1% of chances to succeed, and he said, "Yeah, I know that, but that's why I love it. People don't expect it."
Yeah, it makes sense, right? Yeah, and like you said, no, people don't expect like a big transition to be made in this case. And I think works when the other person's like not too much experience, right? They kind of get lost and the other guy doing it. They got caught, you know. But like I said, I think a low percentage move, right? Because people are really grappling on a daily basis. I think something like many mistakes that have to accumulate, you know, to hit that or something.
Given the fact you grew up in Brazil, do you have a favorite Brazilian MMA fighter? I am Bulgarian by nationality, and you probably know that my favorite fighter is Blagoy Ivanov.
Yeah, one from everyone you have one, right? Something like this. Man, favorite Brazilian fighter. Let's see. Seems some guy that recently has been. Yeah, man, I kind of don't have. You know, I think I'm trying to think. You know, maybe Jose Aldo. You know, Jose Aldo he's like a legend of the sport. You know, when I first started watching these fights was Jose Aldo in World Extreme Cage Fighting, right? The WEC promotion.
WSOF,
man,
yes.
One more time?
Yes, WSOF.
That one was that's what Marlon Moraes was there. I'm saying one that the UFC bought before was World Extreme Cage Fighting,
yes.
WEC.
Yes. World Extreme Cage Fighting was Jose Aldo, while Marlon Moraes was WSOF.
Yeah, exactly. They brought like Cowboy Cerrone and then Jose Aldo's in the mix. That's when they started the featherweight division and whatnot, right? Man, those, I remember I saw a fight live of Jose Aldo versus Uriah Faber. Man, those leg kicks, it was just ridiculous, man, really. I saw that and come on. And then you see the next day, the Uriah Faber's leg was just insane, right? So Jose Aldo at that time, like, well, he was like 24 or something. Man, the guy was unbeatable, right? So powerful, so fast, you know, doing everything right. So I got impressed a lot with Jose Aldo. I knew that he would be, you know, big name in the sport, and he's a legend in Brazil. You know, everybody knows about him. He's the king of Rio de Janeiro, right? So to me, hands down, one of the best fighters. Anderson Silva too. When I started watching, you know, to see that tight clinch with the knees up the middle, you know, breaking guys down. The guy that comes and has play from the octagon, you know, push himself against the cage, dance with everybody, you know, everybody can't hit, he jabs, Forrest Griffin, put the guys out. So it's like something crazy, some, you know, things flashy like this that I remember that, you know, got me impressed by these guys. Also, I like a lot Edson Barboza. I think the guy is really, he's an excellent fighter, you know, the guy always comes fit, you know, it's an excellent striking, the spinning wheel kick that you said you got your knockout. He's the one that got this flashy knockout, you know, against Terry Edding. Awesome stuff, man. You know, the guy is also legendary. There are so many great fighters, man. I don't know. It's really tough to tell, but I think I got more impressed in the beginning, right? When I was start watching and seeing this do all of these things, you know. So I have this like old school guys, let's put it, you know. But obviously nowadays, great guys too, you know. Marlon Moraes, great fighter, you know, even though he lost. I think he's an elite fighter too. So yeah, many great fighters.
Yeah, I agree about that. Actually, I love many Brazilian fighters, but my favorite Brazilian fighter is Wilson Hayes, which you could have probably seen because he has been my guest on 3 occasions, and privately, he's a very, very privately very good person. So I was kind of surprised. I was like, I was thinking prior to Wilson that MMA fighters are strictly oriented to their careers and such things, but actually they're a bit different, And then I changed my mind. Even when I do interview, I don't ask, I don't ask some rocky questions and some tricky questions. I'm staying away from that because you have journalists who like to provoke fighters, who like to irritate them and such things. But I know what fighters been through, I've trained, I'm training, and I know how hard it is. And the last drop you need is the person who wants to irritate you. That's how I watch at that part of the game. What do you think about it? And what do you think about southpaw fighters in general?
Southpaw. Yeah, man, I think on the first part, yeah, like you're saying, the journalists are also trying to grab something that nobody else did, so they're trying to make sort of the name for themselves, the guy that asked that question, that all that stuff. I'm more like a respectful guy, like you're saying, I don't like also, I think you kind of lose a little bit the good spirit of the thing, right? Trying to ask a strict question or something, But, I think it's part of the deal. I think the fighters know that, they're some pressure that I think it's not that it's going to change, much on their life, but either way, it's kind of annoying, like you're saying, And about southpaw fighters, I think this is like, it comes down to the way you can prepare to these guys. I think they have a starting point, an advantage, like they are a little bit sort of one step ahead because they fight mostly the orthodox fighters, and the orthodox fighters doesn't have many southpaw fighters on their record, So in general, I think this is the main influence here, how you can prepare to a southpaw in the angles, that they bring, like the power on the left hand, especially the power to the left kick, the liver kick, it's always there, So I would say that as in a general eye, the southpaw has a small advantage, but again, it's there in the mix, man. It depends how well the other guys prepare, the training camp quality, how tough the other guy is, how tough the southpaw is, You can be a southpaw, but not a tough guy or not a technical guy or whatever. Also, it helps, but not much, right?
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, I understand that part. But I'm southpaw on my own, which you could have probably seen. So for me, it's kind of hard from this stance. Very hard. I mean, I can kick, but I cannot punch from that stance. But from southpaw, I can literally do everything. I can also grapple. I can literally do everything from southpaw. But from orthodox, I can only hit maybe knees, elbows, maybe kicks. But I'm way slower. My movement is terrible of that stance. So I don't know how.
And is it true that?
Yes.
Is it true that the defense part is more difficult if you're switching stances?
Absolutely. It is very, very much difficult, man. It is very, very much difficult. Plus, you're going to be slower, because when we discuss your leading leg, I'm always bouncing on my right foot, of my right foot, and trying to bounce of the left foot. It makes me way slower, man. Even when I train with resistance band, I'm still slower, man. And I'm always slower. For example, if he goes for a low kick, I have maybe 50-50 to evade if my right leg is leading leg. If my left leg is leading leg, I have less than 10%.
Wow, I get it.
Yeah, that's in general the problem, And do you have a favorite fighting style for UFC? Do you have some idea of the favorite fighting style?
I think it's again, to me it depends on the matchup. I think like there's some basic things that people have to have. Like if the person's not a wrestler by offense, they have to have a good takedown defense. And if they don't have the best takedown defense, they have to, be scrappy enough to hit the ground, get out, or they have to have the stellar BJJ there, to keep attacking submissions when they get taken down, to hit the sweeps or, create scrambles to get back up. On the striking part, I think, again, depends on the fighter, man. I think there are some, like, for example, some basic guy that brought a basic boxing style that transitioned well with MMA, and others that had a more complete style that, they cannot put together things. I don't quite remember, anyone now, but it always depends on the fighter, right? I think you cannot compare much styles, to say, between a Taekwondo fighter and a Muay Thai fighter, the Muay Thai fighter have advantage. I don't think this exists, It's just fight between people, like how well do either of these guys adapt to the other, right? I think this is the main thing, and not too much on the martial art itself, but rather on how the guy adapts, Especially in MMA, you can basically do anything you want, So you can always play to the weakness of the other, So.
All right. I'm gonna ask you one more question since you have obligations later. So, I think your channel is great. I think you're doing a great job. How do you see yourself in 5 years?
Man, yeah, good question. I never stopped, to think about it. This last year, try to put some perspective to your question. The last year was something that changed to me in a good point, despite the tragic part of COVID and everything, really something that people, suffered on it. So, yeah, I'm not paying disrespect to that. But to me, that gave me opportunity to have more time, since I don't have to commute to work or something. So I got an extra time and I could put more effort into, making the videos, put things out there, because I was doing the predictions for myself, but I was not that systematic too, because when you are working 8 to 5 jobs, I have a family, so it's pretty tough, always wrestling with time, this type of things, commuting from work. So this took me some time to really start putting things out there, and then the last year I found this time and I got pretty happy to start putting things online, folks commenting, making good friendships as we're having here. So these things got me excited, so that's why I'm continuing doing this. In 5 years, man, I like to think that I'm gonna have some people subscribing to the Patreon, supporting me on a regular basis. I appreciate your comments. I also think that I'm doing pretty good, and I'm always trying to improve. So I think this will pay out at some point. Obviously I'm not a well-known guy there, but I think this will come with time, with me putting more effort. And I expect more, like I said, like people supporting my channel, giving me some gratuity, some donations, So I think getting more supporters in a general sense. I also had an idea of having a VIP list, because I actually came from a guy that searched to me directly. I was helping him with his bets. He was sending me money on a regular basis. So I think this, if the person is really betting a lot, I think a guy like and a guy like yourself too, but like people that kind of analyze the game with lots of experience help, because if you're putting lots of money down the line, as a mistake that you avoid, or like a profit that you potentialize, it really pays out very easily, if you're betting a lot. So I see myself, having more support as people more interested in a personal approach, and again supporting me is more consistently. I would say like this, I haven't seen much, Obviously, I would like also the commentator part, I think it's something that I really would like to do, like to commentate fights, this type of things. But I think it's a so restricted market, unless you find yourself in like you're doing. I think it's a tough one, like to go to television broadcast or something, something like sound really amazing. But I think it's really tough, should be very little opportunities, and not the best in Serbia and Brazil, but they're pretty good guys out there.
Well, yeah, in Serbia, I told you. People, there's no way somebody would let me commentate on TV, but I can commentate on YouTube and nobody can prohibit me about that. Plus, there is another great thing, when people hate me here, because they do, I don't care, because I'm not limited to Serbia, because I'm limited to the worldwide market. And in the world, you can always find somebody who's going to support you and somebody who's not going to support you, which is great, that's global market. Like you're doing your job from Brazil, and if you're not doing in Portuguese, people are probably, I don't know, looking at you like you're having 12 heads, or I guess.
Yeah, man, like I said, I think it's open there, I like that you're doing this too, like congratulations to you. You're doing a great job there on the live comments, you cover basically every major promotion. So yeah, it's not easy to do too, have to be out there all the time until the event finishes. So yeah, kudos to you too. I think you're doing a good job, calling those fights and more, knowing what you're talking about, like calling the proper techniques, So yeah, hands off to you. Good job, man. And that market's open there, right? I think it's like something to consider. My problem in this case, like time, you know, because like I said, I don't do this like full time. It's not my main job. It's like a hobby. So there is this challenge too, you know, but so far so good, you know. I think I'm going like in baby steps. I'm gonna try to continue, you know, growing my channel, getting my supporters, and let's see how this goes, you know. Like obviously this is something that I love to do, you know, something that I've been doing for so long. Sounds pretty cool, but let's see how this goes, you know. For now I'm happy to what I'm doing.
Well, to be honest, that's one of the reasons why I invited you. I really see a potential. I will tell you one thing. If you know the MMA genius, Justin Jr., do you know this guy?
Justin Jr., no, I don't know.
He is an American, but this guy, he does commentary from time to time, but he has some big names interviewing. And when he was having 200 subscribers, he messaged me and he said, can I get a chance? I said, of course you can. And he said, you aren't going to ask me anything. I said, listen, I watched 2 of your interviews. You're having great interviews. He says, wait, you are not asking more questions. I said, why would I ask? I listened to the interview. You know what you're doing. I mean, and later he helped me with some big names. But, you know, I'm not that type of a guy who's going to say, listen, you do this, I do this. No, if I like someone, I'm going to call him. If I don't like someone, he can be the best in the world. I don't care. That's how I am. Like Kepper, for example.
Yeah, thank you, man. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. And also, I always take a look on your interviews, too. You know, I actually, you just answered the question. I was wondering how you can get these fighters to the interview. You know, because sometimes I try to private message them, and obviously they have 1 million people private message that don't answer me. So you got me, you got me honest there, you know. So yeah, man, I think it's a good way to go.
Send me private message on Instagram about that. I wouldn't share it publicly. Just send me private message on Instagram and I will reply, okay? Okay, no problem. I will reply, but just send me private message, okay?
I got it. 100%, man.
Okay, I will reply as soon as this is finished. I will reply. I promise that. So
Thank
yeah,
you very much.
okay. I know you have you are pretty much limited with time. Would you like to add something to this, or that's basically it? Would you like to send a message to someone? Would you like maybe to recommend your social outlet, social media, or?
Yeah, thanks, man, for having me again. It was pretty fun, you know. I think it's always something interesting to do, things that I love. And again, thank you for having me. We can have, you know, I'm open to the conversation. You know, I like to do the predictions, and if you want to do this somehow somewhat in the future, you know, like a live commentator or something. I know that you like Capper too. So like put us up together. We can discuss real quick, you know. It's kind of something that takes some time, but still I think putting the brains together also to try to avoid some mistakes. Like we were saying in the last fight, right? You said many times before the start of the fight, I don't trust much Rodolfo Vieira. Honestly, you know, and this is, I take full, you know, responsibility for it. I don't know how I couldn't see that coming, you know, and you saw it was something that maybe you comment with that. I wouldn't even place the bet in this case, would save me some money, this type of things, you know. So a couple of brains working together, it's always helpful. And rather than that, man, it's like you said, I have my YouTube channel, you know, it's the same as the name that I'm putting here, no, SrodrMMABet. And my style is based on, like we're discussing in the beginning, you know, like I believe in my predictions. I have like near 65 to 70% accuracy on the bets, which I think is pretty good, you know, considering the underdog part. And it's like a style that you know, I'm totally honest. What I'm saying, what I see, I say, and there's no like hidden secrets or anything. And yeah, guys, feel free to follow me and, you know, keep in touch with everyone. I'm also, you know, willing to discuss everything that I really like.
Absolutely. Just like I'm guesting from time to time on Kepper's channel, I can also guest on your channel when you get the ability to go live. I think when you get 100 subscribers, or maybe you can go live earlier, you can ask Kepper about that. I think you can also go live. I can go live with you on your channel if you're interested. I can do it for you.
Sounds cool, man. Yeah, let's schedule. Let's see, like a big card to FC 259, maybe a good one. You know, I'm expecting great returns there. You know, I'm saying out there, Megan Anderson. You know, to me, it's near a 40% chance that Megan Anderson is going to win this fight. So just to, you know, get a touch here. If you guys would like to join me, then we can go for a live one on this biggest card where people may be more interested. You know, it's the biggest fight. I think it's a good one. We can schedule.
Yeah, we can absolutely go for predictions live. I must comment on my channel, but we can absolutely go for predictions live. Just like I'm going with Kepper, I'm interested to go with you. So just send me a private message and I will now answer your question. Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you, man. You're a great man, and thank you for having me. Have a good time.
All right. Have a great day. I will post it in like 3-4 hours. I will reply to your question now.
Awesome, my man. Thank you.
Goodbye.